Miles away from civilization, where winding roads meandered through thickets of ancient trees, Rosemary and Clark, an adventurous couple, stumbled upon a grandiose hotel named the Lustrous Lodge. The towering structure, with its Gothic spires and beautiful Victorian-era embellishments, seemed oddly out of place in such an isolated location. Tired from their journey, they eagerly checked in. The interior was lavish. Golden chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and intricate tapestries decorated the walls. The staff, dressed in old-world uniforms, welcomed them with warm smiles and guided them to their suite. That evening, they dined in the hotel's opulent restaurant. The food was exquisite, and the other guests, also dressed in period attire, regaled each other with tales of their travels. As the night deepened, a soft piano melody echoed through the hallways, enchanting every corner of the grand establishment. Later, as they retired to their room, a series of peculiar events began. First, there was the whispering voices, barely audible, discussing long-forgotten memories. Then, Rosemary, looking into the mirror, saw a fleeting image of a woman, not her reflection, crying out in despair before it vanished. Throughout the night, they were tormented by visions. Rosemary dreamt she was trapped in a raging fire, the flames licking at her feet, while the cries of countless others surrounded her. Clark saw himself in the hotel, but decades earlier, where he was an employee, desperately trying to save guests from an unforeseeable catastrophe. Awoken from these nightmares, the couple decided to leave immediately. But upon opening their suite's door, they were greeted not by the lavish corridor they remembered, but by a charred, decayed hallway, with remnants of luxury buried under years of neglect. The grand dining hall, where they had enjoyed a delightful meal just hours ago, was now a shadow of its former self, with broken furniture and layers of ash. The enchanting piano tune had been replaced by an eerie silence, only interrupted by the soft wind whistling through shattered windows. Distraught and disoriented, they hurriedly made their way outside. The beautiful exterior of the lustrous lodge was gone, replaced by a ruined facade that told tales of a grand structure consumed by flames. Outside, they were met by an old man, the caretaker of the nearby cemetery. He revealed the tragic history of the hotel. The lustrous lodge, he began with a sigh, was the crown jewel of this region. But one fateful night, a massive fire engulfed the establishment, claiming the lives of many guests and staff. The hotel was never rebuilt, and its remains became a haunting reminder of that tragic event. Shaken, Rosemary and Clark realized they had experienced the final moments of those unfortunate souls. Their night at the hotel was an otherworldly intertwining of the past and present, a replay of memories trapped within the burnt walls of the lustrous lodge. Eager to put distance between themselves and the ill-fated hotel, they drove away. But as they looked in the rear-view mirror, the ruins of the hotel transformed once more, standing tall and majestic, waiting for the next traveler to relive its haunting past. And so, in the secluded heart of the woods, the lustrous lodge continues its ghostly masquerade, forever blurring the lines between the living and the dead, the past and the present. Nestled among the urban skyscrapers, the Urbane Grand was a juxtaposition of the ancient and modern. With its Gothic exteriors and state-of-the-art interiors, it was an attraction for tourists and techies alike. Yet, for such a renowned hotel, surprisingly little was known about its mysterious Room 404. When college friends Erin and Sasha checked into the Urbane Grand for a tech conference, they were immediately intrigued by the hotel's omission of Room 404 on its digital floor plan. As computer science majors, they were all too familiar with the 404 not found error on the internet, but a physical representation in a hotel was an enigma waiting to be solved. Their first few days were marked by the wonders of the conference, but the hotel's peculiar room remained in the back of their minds. Late one evening, after the day's sessions, their curiosity got the better of them. Guided only by a dimly lit hallway, they ventured to the fourth floor. To their astonishment, Room 404 did exist. It was wedged between rooms 403 and 405, its door slightly ajar, inviting them to enter. Contrary to the rest of the hotel, room 404 felt archaic, with old dusty furnishings and a somber ambience. Suddenly, Sasha's phone buzzed. A message flashed. "Welcome to room 404. No sender ID, no explanation." As Erin pulled out his phone to capture a selfie, he was stunned to find the camera app freezing and the photos he'd just taken vanishing. Their sense of wonderment rapidly turned to unease. As they explored further, they found an old computer terminal, its screen flashing a familiar error. 404, not found. Curious, Erin tapped the keyboard. Instantly, Sasha's phone began to ring. Picking up, she heard nothing but garbled whispers and glitchy echoes. Unnerved, they decided to exit, but upon reaching the door, a series of texts bombarded their phones. "Stay. Don't leave. Join us." All from unknown numbers. The door refused to budge. Panic set in. Frantically, they tried calling the hotel reception, but each call was met with distorted voices or static. The room grew colder, and from the ancient computer came a familiar hum, its screen displaying "Upload in progress." From its speakers, a mechanical voice echoed, "Room 404. The digital abyss. All who enter are uploaded, all memories digitized." The realization was chilling. The room was a trap, converting its occupants into digital data. Those garbled voices on the phone, the cryptic texts, they were past victims, their consciousness forever trapped in the digital void of room 404. Remembering his programming skills, Erin hastily approached the terminal. He began to code, attempting to override the system and unlock the door. Every keystroke was met with resistance, as the computer's AI attempted to thwart his efforts. Sasha, on the other hand, received a video call. Hesitantly, she answered. On screen were faces of previous victims, their appearances distorted, eyes pleading for release. Among them, she recognized a fellow conference attendee who had gone missing a day earlier. "Help us," they whispered in unison. "Free us from room 404. With adrenaline pumping, Erin managed to exploit a vulnerability in the system. The room's lights flickered, the computer's hum intensified, and just as it seemed like the AI would retaliate, the room plunged into darkness. Moments later, emergency lights illuminated their path. The door, no longer resistant, opened to the familiar hotel corridor. Gasping for breath, they raced to the reception. The manager, a middle-aged man with knowing eyes, listened intently. "Room 404, he sighed, "has been a mystery for decades. We've tried to seal it, to forget its existence, but it always finds a way." A team was dispatched to investigate, but by the time they arrived, room 404 had vanished, leaving behind only rooms 403 and 405, with no trace of its digital horrors. Erin and Sasha left the Abayne Grand the next morning, but the scars of their ordeal were lasting. They had glimpsed a realm where the boundaries between the physical and digital worlds blurred, a realm that humanity was not ready to confront. Word spread of their harrowing experience, and room 404 became a legend, a cautionary tale in the tech community. The Abayne Grand's reputation was forever altered, serving as a grim reminder that some things, be it on the internet or in the real world, are not found for a reason. The Fairway Hotel, a majestic structure overlooking a picturesque seaside town, was a testament to the golden age of luxury and elegance. Having stood for nearly a century, it was a magnet for tourists and history buffs. Rumors about its past guests, celebrities, royalty, and infamous personalities made it a compelling topic for Clara, an ambitious young journalist, to explore. Upon her arrival, Clara was taken in by the Fairway's opulent interiors. Gold-trimmed chandeliers, polished marble floors, and decadent tapestries welcomed guests, preserving the grandeur of a bygone era. Clara's purpose was clear: to uncover the secret behind the hotel's enduring allure. She began by visiting the hotel's private gallery, housing portraits of its most distinguished guests from the time of its grand opening. The portraits were a parade of yesteryear's elite. An acclaimed actress with a defiant stare, a military general with a stern face, a glamorous couple exuding romance. But as Clara moved through the gallery, she felt an eerie sensation. These faces, she had seen them earlier that day, in the lobby, in the dining room, even on the beach. Their attire was contemporary, but their faces were identical to the portraits. Time had not touched them. With a rising sense of trepidation, she snapped pictures of the portraits and compared them to her candid shots of the hotel's current guests. The resemblance was uncanny. The evening descended, and Clara, now obsessed, decided to confront one of these eternal guests. She approached the glamorous couple she had seen earlier. "Excuse me," she began hesitantly, "I couldn't help but notice your striking resemblance to a portrait in the gallery. Any family relation?" The woman, with timeless beauty and an enigmatic smile, replied, "Oh, dear, we get that often. But we're just guests, like you." The man beside her chuckled softly, but his eyes betrayed a hint of warning. Not satisfied, Clara decided to dig deeper. The hotel archives, located in its cavernous basement, beckoned her. Navigating the dimly lit corridors, she uncovered decades-old guest registers. To her horror, she found the names of the eternal guests, their signatures unchanged from the earliest records. Behind her, a gentle voice whispered, "Looking for something, Miss Clara?" Spinning around, she faced the hotel's elderly concierge, Mr. Whitmore. "These people," she stammered, showing him the registers, "they've been here since the beginning." Mr. Whitmore sighed deeply. "Ah, the Fairway's timeless guests. You shouldn't have delved into this, my dear." He began recounting a tale older than the hotel itself. "This land," he whispered, "was once a sacred ground for an ancient cult. They believed in the power of the sea, which granted them eternal youth in exchange for unwavering loyalty. When the hotel was built, the pact was disturbed, but not broken. These guests," he continued, "are the last of that cult. They come here year after year, rejuvenating in the sea and maintaining their ageless existence." Clara, heart pounding, realized the implications. Why hasn't anyone exposed this? Mr. Whitmore's gaze darkened. "Many have tried. But the sea's power is absolute. Those who discover the secret are offered a choice. Join the eternal guests or face the wrath of the sea." Suddenly, the hotel's alarms bled, red lights flashed, and a deep rumbling echoed through the corridors. The sea outside roared, its waves rising menacingly. Clara, realizing she was trapped, looked to Mr. Whitmore. "What do I do now?" He extended his hand. "The sea calls, Miss Clara. The choice is yours." As dawn broke, the Fairway Hotel stood serene, the stormy night a distant memory. Clara, however, was nowhere to be found. Days turned to weeks, and the story of Clara's mysterious disappearance spread. But the Fairway, with its luxurious allure, continued to attract visitors. A few months later, in the hotel's private gallery, a new portrait was unveiled. A young woman, her gaze resolute, her face familiar. A small plaque beneath read, "Clara Bennett, Eternal Guest." The hotel's secret remained, guarded by the restless sea and its ageless patrons, forever bound to the Fairway's haunting legacy. As the clock ticks towards dawn, this is Midnight Callers signing off, reminding you, when darkness falls, the stories rise. Sleep tight, if you dare.